There is an example that says that the poison is under the tongue. That is, kindness can hide something terrible under it. It can hide something ugly inside it. Over the years, we have been imagined the evil as the monster that has a hollow, bloody, and scary shape. But can the evil be on the form of kindness? And what's more, it can be a few steps away from you and you don't know. There is also a saying that says that your body knows everything. If you feel that there is something wrong, then yes, there is something wrong. Will your heart believe it or your mind? Or will you be afraid that you will be called an over or paranoid? How can you reach what is around you, your sense of danger? The terrible nights in our lives do not forget, and I have never forgotten the night I lived there, and I am a broken student who was going to end my death if I remained convinced that, as he said at the time, I am over and broken. Peace, mercy, and blessings of God be upon you. My name is Olivert James, and this is the Narrator program. Put on your seatbelts because we have a very dangerous and not easy trip, and it has a little bit of mental manipulation, and at the same time it has a lot of fears that threaten the lives of people living among us, and they may be hearing this story and not paying attention to it. So put on your seatbelts because we have a not easy trip, and this trip was written and prepared by Olivert James, and this is the second story that James has shared with us, and it is clear that we are entering into stories of heavy weight. So let's start the episode. My name is Jahan, and I am 24 years old. I am continuing my studies at a foreign university in Egypt. I can't say its name, but it is far from our country. Our origin is from Al-Said. I am a top student, and I graduated from the first year of the public high school. That is why I received a scholarship to study at a university of foreign universities in Egypt. A university that spends money on this and that. But this scholarship allowed me to study for free in the field I loved, and I was talented in it as well. After high school, I applied for a scholarship to take a master's degree, and indeed, after preparing for it, studying for it, and after going through the tests, I succeeded and was able to take the scholarship. I am still living in the apartment next to the university, which was considered a desert. But this is the place where I can live and continue my studies at a low cost. That is why my parents didn't approve of me living next to the university. They are very afraid of me, to the extent that they made me live with this fear. And I was also afraid. I imagined that people outside our country are monsters and very difficult to deal with, and that I wouldn't be able to deal with them. But I had to be realistic. And because this was a chance that would never be missed, I tried to convince them. And with time, they were convinced. But I met the same rejection again when I was renewed after I took the bachelor's degree. They told me that it was enough and that I should go back to work and get married next to them, and that I didn't have to study for a master's degree. And they told me that the reasons were very strange for me. How will you sit alone, Jihan? Scholars are an easy target for the enemy. They kill them and they get a lot of evil things. And you want to rely on them. And I am afraid. Dad, these are very far-reaching possibilities. Do you know how many people will get this opportunity? I will regret it if I didn't take my chance and didn't take advantage of the knowledge I have. They don't say that we ask for knowledge even in China. I will ask for it here in Egypt. You have to listen to your father's words, my daughter. We will remain afraid of you as long as you are away from us. I want to see you happy and see your children. Grandma, he will get the chance and I won't. But I have a lot of knowledge, Mom, and I have to pursue it. It wasn't easy for them to agree, but I kept pursuing them. I managed to convince them that it was an opportunity that they shouldn't miss. The scholarship was for 2 years, and it completely covered the expenses of studying and living. In our field, studying is very competitive, and there is no field other than the one who can strive and prove himself. And I was struggling until I knew how to prove myself. I chose an important subject for my message. It is not far from making me one of the most famous scientists in the world. That's why sometimes I worked in the factory until late. Maybe this worried me at first because the way back home that I walk alone is scary, but I got used to it. The area where I lived was mostly university students. It was normal for me to find people walking in the streets until midnight. Indeed, there was nothing to worry about, but I felt a danger that I didn't know its source. Being away from my family in a far place makes me kind of afraid. I was afraid of what my family was saying. I felt that I was an easy target, but I didn't know what it was exactly. At night, I used to come back from the factory at night, and this is something I got used to in the past months. I used to rent a small apartment that was a few streets away from the factory. Ever since I came here, I walked this road so many times that I memorized every inch of it. It was quiet at night, and the weather was a bit cold. As I walked, I took out my phone to see if I got a new message, and I didn't notice. I was used to my phone being silent while I was working, so I found a message from my mom that reassured me. Working between the university and the factory all day made it very difficult for us to talk to each other, except at the end of the week. I replied to my mom so she wouldn't worry, and I recorded a voice note for her. I told her, "Mom, don't worry, the mafia still doesn't know my way." I was fidgeting on my phone for half an hour without paying attention to how tired I was and wanted to go home. And there was a message from a friend of mine asking me if I had a plan for the weekend. I mean, if I had something planned or if I didn't have anything. And there was another message with the phone bill I had to pay. All normal stuff. I got my phone back, and I was almost at my building. I saw Tahani, my neighbor. She was standing next to the garbage bin in front of the building. She was talking on the phone, and I shook my head, and she waved at me, and in a matter of seconds the conversation stopped and she started talking to me. "You also had a day off today, Jai?" "Yes, I had a lot of work, and the discussion was coming up. And every day I have a lot of stuff, and I have a lot to finish in college, too." "What's wrong with you, Sahar?" I didn't know where to sleep. I was trying to make up for my sister in America. She had been evicted from Miami because of Helena. She warned the people there and told them to leave the place, and they didn't know where to go. All of them were worried about their family, and their hearts were tired. "Yes, you're right. May God bless you, Tahani, and bless everyone who has a distant relative. I don't want anything from you, but I'm going to die in sleep. I'll see you later. Good night." Tahani, my neighbor, was an employee at the university, but not in my college. Her husband was a doctor at the university, but he passed away years ago. They were renting a small apartment in this building to be next to his work. She didn't have children, but she considered all the neighbors as her children. And as soon as I got here, I found her in front of me. Honestly, she cooperated with me in a way that no one else does. And whenever I needed something, or even when I didn't need it, she appeared to help me. She was caring, and honestly, as soon as I got here, she asked me about my appointments, so that I wouldn't be disturbed at my leisure time. She also asked me to have my parents' number so that if anything happened, I could talk to them. Even when we were arranging a conversation at the end of the week, she had to ask about Tahani. And when she was there, she would talk to her as well. It was as if her presence was reassuring them. And in fact, her presence was reassuring me as well. I got in the elevator, which was slower than usual because of how much we used it. We got out of the elevator right away, to the extent that the buttons on the doors were hidden and scratched. I was living in the 4th floor, and I was sleeping, and I was tired, and I had to sleep inside the elevator. Finally, the elevator door opened. Our apartment was small. It was 2 apartments in each floor, and in the middle of each floor, the elevator would stop. But as I was walking towards the apartment, I noticed something strange. I saw a faint light appear from under the door. Maybe I forgot that the elevator was on before I got out. It's normal. It happens to me that I forget a lot of things like this. But when I got there, I found something strange. The door of the apartment was not well locked. It was open with a very small opening, almost invisible. But I remember very well that I locked it when I got out, as I did every time. Maybe I forgot how tired I was. Am I ready to get out in a hurry today? But no. I remember very well that I locked it and heard the sound of my tongue. I kept closing the door and opening it to make sure it wasn't stuck or something was missing, so I didn't let it close. I looked inside the apartment. It was very quiet. It was neat, as I left it, and everything was in its place. The faint light from the lamp in the living room was a light that made the place clear, and I memorized its details. I went inside and closed the door behind me. I kept turning my tongue as if I wanted to make sure it was working properly. I went into the living room and threw my keys and my bag on the couch. And here I saw something that scared me. There was something thrown on the couch. It was a picture. a photographic picture. I was terrified because I didn't remember putting something like this on the couch. I always leave the place before I go out because I can't see in front of me. I don't know how to sit in a quiet place. I was sure that this picture wasn't there. Most importantly, I don't have any printed pictures at home. Everything is electronic. I took heavy steps and my heart was beating fast. I turned on the light to see the details of the picture. The picture was mine. It was taken today when I came back from college. I recognized the street. This is our street. The same street I walked on when I went to the factory. My hand was shaking while I was holding the picture. I flipped it to see if there was anything written behind it. There was nothing. The person who took this picture was watching me. Someone was following me. He was inside my apartment and left me alone. I was in danger. I told you, doctor. I was in danger. I was trying to convince the supervisor that I was exposed to strange things. Now, I feel that I have a role in this change. My specialty is modifying genes using a new technology. This is one of the most revolutionary technologies in the field of medicine and biology. I am working on developing a new way to modify genes responsible for hereditary or immune diseases such as cancer or even rare diseases that do not have current treatment. What I am trying to do is not just modifying genes, but modifying them to be accurate and safe at the same time. If we succeed in this, we will be able to change the lives of millions of people and turn hereditary diseases from just trying to reduce the number of diseases to a radical treatment. My research started attracting attention from research institutions and big pharmaceutical companies outside of Egypt as well. Honestly, this was putting more pressure on me because the whole world is waiting to see how this technology can work and change the future of medicine. But the most important thing that kept me going was hope. The hope that our research can save the lives of many people and open a new door in the field of modern medicine. Like any student of science, I am facing difficulties and I am struggling and no one believes me. No one believes that there are people who are obstructing me and distorting me so that I do not continue my research no matter how hard I try to resist it. That is why I tried to understand Dr. Rashid more than what I am going through. What is the danger, Jahan? I assure you that these are illusions in your mind. Doctor, I do not go to a restaurant unless the food is very late until I get it. The last time I was in a restaurant and a strange-looking person came and talked to the waiter and asked him to change the food for me before he gets it. Then, when I ate, I was very tired and I had a bad stomach and I stayed in bed for a day. There is someone who puts something in my food. This person, Jahan, is responsible for quality monitoring and supervises all the orders. I did not do this only with your food, but he ordered to change all the food that was served to the customers in the restaurant. You are really tired of the food, but this is because the restaurant did not follow the hygiene rules, so it is very possible that you got a bad stomach. If you go to the restaurant now, you will find it closed because they received a warning that it is necessary to return the health rules and pay the fine. Doctor, do you mean to tell me that I am imagining? I will tell you another situation. I have a neighbor who always evaporates the building with a very strange substance that makes me suffocate in breathing and makes my heart beat fast. I talked to her several times and there is no use, as if she wanted to make me suffocate and not faint, because she does not know how to work, of course. Oh, Jahan, this is my insect house and there are many people who spray it because of the insects. You know that I am in the middle of the desert and the insects are very difficult here. You may have a sense of it or a sense of breathing in general. Why do you think that someone can hurt you? We are with you and he is a scientist like you and like us. Have you seen someone trying to hurt us? Do not exaggerate the subject. Jahan, you need to talk to a therapist or a psychiatrist because the pressure of work and studying make your nerves tired and make you worried. I do not want this worry to waste your study. The session remains a short period. I went to the psychiatric clinic and she started to give me a sedative. I relaxed a little and my brain started to calm down from the thoughts. I did not want to tell my parents anything because they would not believe me and tell me to go back and we told you not to travel at all and the things you know. They were afraid of me because these are their thoughts. After a while, I started to think that everything is an illusion in my brain, but what does it mean what is happening now? How did someone enter my apartment without looking in the apartment for anything to be taken or moved from its place, but I did not find anything? All the windows were closed too. My brain did not stop thinking. Suddenly, my phone rang with a signal, so I took it out and said maybe the person who was spying on me sent me a message, but the message was from Tahani. She wrote to me that you were fine and your face was a bit upset and you came back as if there was something. I kept looking at the screen and my brain was very confused to the extent that I did not know how to respond immediately. Tahani was in front of the house when I came back. Could she have noticed something or seen someone inside the apartment? Should I tell her about the picture? I hesitated for a moment to tell her, and part of me wanted to tell someone, but the other part felt that I had to keep this to myself until I was sure that my brain was fine and that I was not hallucinating. I still did not know what was happening, and defending the results was not the right thing. After I tried to calm down, I wrote her a quick reply that I was really tired and that it was a difficult day at the university and that I should thank her for asking me. I put my phone on the table and the picture was still there. I was afraid to move it because I was thinking about all the possibilities in my mind: who took the picture and why did he leave it here and how did he enter the apartment, and many other things. I tried to calm down and turned on the TV, although I was not used to turn it on, and I thought that maybe the sound in the background would make me feel better, but I could not focus on what was happening. My thoughts were all around the door of the apartment that was open and the picture, as if someone wanted to tell me that they were watching me. Someone knew that I was going back home today and left me evidence that I was in danger. Do they want to prevent me from continuing my research? Do they want to kill me? I got up and turned around in the apartment, and she was looking for anything, but there was nothing. The vibration of the phone that I turned off because I was nervous suddenly worked to scare me again. A new message from my neighbor Tahani. She was telling me that if I needed anything, she could tell me. I woke up and was waiting for a call. I sent her the message and I started to feel worried. Tahani is always nice and sweet, but now she looks like someone who focuses on her too much. I had never thought of something like this, but maybe I was not paying attention. Am I thinking too much about necessity, or is it a coincidence that she is always close to me and she asks about me at the right time? I did not reply to her message. I kept looking at the clock. It is half night now and I could not sleep. My brain was spinning and repeating the day from the beginning. I was trying to remember if I saw someone walking behind me, or someone might be following me, or focusing on the places I went to. Suddenly I heard a light knock on the door, and it felt like this light made my body because I did not expect someone to knock at this time. I hesitated and my heart was beating fast, and I was walking on the edge of the door at her. Tahani was standing in front of the door as usual. I felt that she was the one knocking, but then I remembered the picture on the table and the door that was open, and I was worried about it from the moment I came back. So, I opened the door a little and tried to keep my voice calm. Yes, Tahani, is there something? Sorry if I bothered you. Gee, but I heard a strange sound like someone was knocking on your door an hour ago. I told her to trust you and make sure you are fine. I did not understand. I mean, if she really heard someone knocking on the door, why didn't she come out to see? Or, why didn't she tell me when she met me downstairs and I came back? Did you hear someone trying to open the door? Yes, I heard, but I was that she would come out. It was not comfortable between you, and so I told her to make sure everything was fine. She was talking and looking at the apartment from behind. Her hand was holding the door harder, and I could not explain the situation. It is not a threat to me, but my attention is not in my head. And if I really heard something, this is not how you should act. I am fine. Thank you. I will go to bed. Thank you for your question. Take care of yourself, and if you need anything, tell me. I nodded and closed the door. There was something wrong the situation, and it was not comfortable for me. I looked at the picture and the table again. My phone was shaking again, and this time I was really afraid when I found a new from Tahani. I am sorry if I scared you. I am just trying to be a good neighbor. I looked at thee and I felt my body shaking. Why did she care so much? It is hard to connect the dots. First the door was open, and then the picture, and now she is lonely. Something wrong is happening. Tahani, a university employee. Could it be that one of the pharmaceutical companies has planted her against me? Is it possible? The security cameras on my apartment in particular were faulty. The building owner refused to repair them because he had a problem with the camera company. This was one of the situations I told Dr. Rashid and assured me that it was also a coincidence. And it was not important to the extent that someone would kill me. I decided that I had to talk to someone. I asked my friend Sarah on the phone. Sarah was with me at the university and we were friends. She was definitely going to answer the phone at this time, but there was nothing in front of me to do. I was walking around the apartment waiting for Rana to finish and answer. Finally, she answered me and her voice was asleep and depressed at the same time. Yes, Jihan. How are you? Are you okay? I don't know, Sarah. Strange things are happening. Sarah, I will leave you with the medicine now. There was someone in my apartment today. He left me something in the apartment. The picture is mine. The picture was taken by me when I returned from the university. I remained silent for a while before she spoke to me again. Are you the police? I don't know what to tell them. Also, actually, there is nothing stolen. What if they thought that I was exaggerating and told me that my nerves are tired? Or they asked me if I take medicine? No, you are not exaggerating, and you have to talk to them as soon as possible. You are right. This is a very strange situation. And Tahani doesn't know what's wrong with her. She keeps asking me every now and then, as if she knows something that she doesn't want to say. But I'm not sure if you were kidding me or not. Wait, yes, she sent me a message after I found the picture. She said she saw someone knocking on my apartment door, as if she was watching me. Do you think she might have something to do with what's happening? I don't know. She is always sweet and nice, but now there is something uncomfortable, and I can't think clearly. I'm afraid that one of the pharmaceutical companies wants to kill me. I told her that I would really do that, and I felt a little relieved when I talked to her. She told me to take care of myself and talk to her again if anything happens. After I talked to her, I sat for a while and tried to think, is it right for me to tell her or not? And I found that she was right. It's better to be safe than sorry. And it doesn't matter if they call me crazy or over. It doesn't matter. I asked for help and I felt more anxiety. And I was waiting for someone to answer. And when he answered, I felt my voice coming out. I told them that I wanted to tell them something. And I told them everything that happened to me. The officer who answered took all the information from me. And he asked me about the details. I tried to explain as much as I could, although what he said was strange. And maybe it doesn't lead to anything. And when the conversation was over, they assured me that an officer would come to see the situation. It wasn't long before I heard someone knocking on the door. My heart fell on my feet. But when I looked through the magic eye, I found 2 officers standing in front of the door. I opened the door and let them in. They told me that they were coming to take the report. I told them everything that happened in detail, and they checked the place well. And they asked me if I was suspicious of someone suspicious or someone close to me. So I told them there is a neighbor of mine. She works at our university. She is nice to me and always helps me. But I don't know why she is asking about me so much now. And I feel like she knows something and is hiding it. After I explained everything to them, they went downstairs to talk to Tahani in the apartment below. And it didn't take long for them to come back. They told me that Tahani said that she didn't notice anything strange, but she was worried about my safety. And I told them that she was there and that she would keep an eye out for anything strange to happen. I asked them if they were going to take any action, but they said that they didn't have enough evidence to open the investigation now. But they also said that they were going to leave a police car in front of the house in order to be safe. And they advised me to rest and not worry. I thanked them and I felt at ease that there was a police car nearby. Maybe now that there is someone watching the apartment, I can sleep a little. And I couldn't sleep. The events that took place that night were in my mind, and the fear inside made me sit on my nerves. I stayed awake all night. I was aware of any noise in the apartment or any noise coming from the street. And the small knife that I had put in my bag was the only thing that comforted me, until the dawn came at last. The next day went by normally, but the fear of the night that passed still possessed me. I spent the day between university and the factory in continuous work. My body is tired, but my mind doesn't stop thinking. And when I finished, it was night. On my way home, I decided to go to the small supermarket 2 blocks away from my apartment. I needed something to calm me down. I thought about a snack and a drink to spend time with them with the movie I was going to watch. To calm myself down a little. I went to the store and bought some stuff. I went out and put my hand next to the knife in my jacket. I quickly walked to the garage of the cars that were a little dark. The feeling that someone was watching me didn't satisfy me. I was walking very fast to pass the garage, and the sound of my steps was loud and unorganized. I was out of breath. I looked behind me and I expected to see anyone walking behind me, but there was no one. My heart was beating fast, and all my senses were screaming to me to move faster. I tried to convince myself that this was just anxiety and fear of what happened. Maybe because I didn't take the medicine. Only a few seconds later, the horror happened. Everything in front of me was dark. A loud rustling sound. A bag was pulled on my head with force. Arms were wrapped around my neck and pressed on me. Out of fear, I tried to scream in a hysterical way, but the sound was locked inside the bag. My voice was locked and I couldn't speak. Come and kill me. Come and kill me. I'm not stupid or crazy. My lungs were suffocating. Every breath was entering with difficulty, and the one holding my neck was pressing harder. My legs were hitting the ground violently. Every muscle in my body was screaming for strength, for an exit. The world around me was disappearing. I couldn't breathe or think. My hand went straight to my pocket. I pulled the knife and hid it behind me randomly. And with all the strength I had left, I kept hitting blindly. And I felt the knife hit my flesh. And I heard a loud voice behind me that hurt. The blood around my neck became lighter, and I quickly pulled the bag from my head and took it off. I was suffocating and breathing with difficulty. I couldn't see well, and I tried to regain my balance. My whole body was trembling with fear. I couldn't turn to look behind me. I looked with difficulty, and I found him leaning on himself, and he was holding his side from the place where I hit him. I couldn't see him. The blood was flowing between his throats and he was falling on the floor. But his eyes were looking at me and they were all red. I couldn't speak normally, and I didn't need an explanation. Of course, he was a retired killer. Who sent him? An enemy country or a pharmaceutical company? Who are you? Don't you remember me? Of course, you don't remember. You only remember yourself. I looked at him and tried to remember his face. There was something familiar about him, but it was like a memory that was erased from my mind. The memory hit me like electricity. His face had changed a lot. I didn't know him. You didn't even look at me when we were at the university. After the break, I was 1 year late. Look at the dog you left behind. Aren't you a retired killer? Are you Rami? It's good that you still remember my name, Jihad. After you threw our memories together in the trash. I don't have memories with you, Rami. You're trying to misunderstand yourself as usual. You rejected me, as if I was nothing. But I promised to make you pay for this one day. My heartbeat increased when I heard his words, because it wasn't just a random attack. He was planning the whole thing. He was waiting for this moment, paying with the hatred that he had for me, a hatred that I didn't even know existed. Rami, you showed him the connections the first time I came here. But I told you that this wasn't one of my priorities at the time. No, and I also wanted us to live together. Why? Because we're adults and free. And we can't do this as long as we're away from our families. And I told you that this wouldn't work because it wasn't right for me or my convictions. You kept following me and blocking me everywhere. And you scared me to the point where you made me tell the whole school about you. The whole school that threatened you with the break, and that really broke you when you got addicted to what you were doing. I didn't hurt you in any way. I don't love you. I didn't want your love. I wanted you to feel like you're nothing, that you don't exist. You feel like you're rejected like Fargo and Emaciata. Like the joke that I'm disconnected and disconnected because you rejected me. You feel like you can't do anything and you're waiting for your destiny that you don't know what it's going to be. It's been years, Rami. Can you imagine that all this time has passed and you still remember? You're crazy. You thought you could laugh at me and have fun with me for 2 days and leave. But I was waiting. I've been waiting all this time to make you suffer. Suffer while you don't have a long life. Like I don't have a long life and you don't have a long life. My foot fell on the ground. The blood was coming out of it and accumulating under it. He was barely breathing. I stood still and couldn't move. I was trying to understand the nightmare that happened in front of me. How can a child melt in his mind when there was nothing between us? I had planned to take revenge for years, and today he came to kill me. Could this be the source of the danger? and you heard the sound of her message. Of course, it was his cell phone. His body was lying on the ground and unconscious. I sat on my knees and my hands were shaking. Then I took his cell phone out of his pocket, and I pulled his hand to open the phone with my fingerprint. There was a new message. The message said, "Did you finish the job?" I opened the container and what I saw was a pool of blood in my eyes of terror. There were pictures of me. I was walking to school and I was leaving my apartment. I was buying things from the supermarket. All the pictures were of my normal daily life. He had been following me for weeks, maybe more. Each picture was sent to him moment by moment. My breath was trembling in a terrified way when I saw the pictures. Rami was communicating with someone. Someone was helping him all the time. I couldn't breathe from the terror when I read the message. Let her find the picture. Put it in a visible place. We want her to be terrified. Tonight is the last night. I will finish the whole thing. Then I got a reply from the other side. This message was yesterday. I don't care what you are going to do. Why? The important thing is that my money will reach me. The number he was talking to wasn't registered. I took out my phone and looked for this strange number in my numbers. My hand was shaking while I was looking for the number. I pretended to be wrong. But when the number appeared, my heart dropped. Could it be Tahani? But no, it wasn't Tahani. It was Sarah. My heart dropped when I understood the truth. My friend Sarah was involved in everything that happened to me from the beginning. She was leaking information to the criminal who was chasing me. She was playing with my feelings and scaring me to take advantage of me. All this in exchange for the money he was giving her. He was giving it to her so that she could pay for her studies. He is a rich man, and that's what convinced me that I can't refuse him. I remembered that my apartment key was with her, since she sat with me for a week when the bill was low in her apartment. And I completely forgot about this key and forgot to take it from her after that. I mean, when she told me to tell the police, she was putting me to sleep so that I wouldn't doubt her. And she was sticking it in Tahani when she found out that my doubts were going away. The pulse reached every part of my body when I called the police. My voice was shaking and I was trying to explain to them what happened. Sarah betrayed me in the worst way possible. And I never doubted her, not even for a moment. The police came and took me from the garage, me and Rami. They sent him to the hospital and we went to Sarah's house together. The sound of knocking on her door was heard all over the building. I was standing outside watching the scene. The police entered the house quickly, and in moments they were leaving while they were putting the handcuffs in her hands. When I looked at her, I saw the handcuffs she was wearing while he was falling. Her eyes met my eyes for a moment before she turned around and walked away with them. "You're so easy to make fun of, Jihan. You're supposed to go back to your country." That was the last sentence she said. After the investigation was over, she was imprisoned. Rami was in the hospital in a critical condition and didn't expect to live. I didn't need anything, of course, because it proved that I was defending myself. Tahani didn't have any claim to anything, but she once saw Rami spying on me, threatening that if I didn't shut up, he would kill her. She was afraid because she knew how different he was. This, of course, is one of the stories that filled the university. Her relationship was what made her behave like this. I went back to my apartment and tried to understand what happened. How could you be so stupid? How could you doubt Tahani when she was innocent? How could you? How could you forget Rami even though you knew how dangerous he was? You didn't leave me alone. I expected the danger to be far away, but the danger was closer than I expected. A hidden devil behind a fake smile. A devil a few steps away from me. I knew that the danger was not what we expected. It doesn't have to be a country or an organization that threatens our lives, or big conspiracies against us. This could come from the weakest link, from a place where we don't expect the harm to come from. And the question remains that I keep asking myself. Is the harm real or are we just exaggerating the matter? It's true. I forgot to take the medicine today. And that's it. I told you that we are going on a big trip. And that's the end of the story. I thank Olivert James for the fear and anticipation that we had throughout the story. And from the first minute to the last minute. I thank her a lot for the context of the events. And the word CIA is a good thing, not a bad thing. I thank her a lot for writing the episode, and I thank you for reaching this point. And as long as you reach this point, it's clear that you liked the story. So let's like the video and share it. And write a comment with our opinion on the story, in all transparency, and any criticism that is not constructive. And any criticism that is not constructive, we get rid of it without anyone feeling it. Because in the end, the work is not incomplete. If you think that there is a constructive criticism, make sure that we are working on it, even without talking about it. You will find your opinion in the next episode made with it. But of course, if my opinion is useless, we get rid of it so that the picture is clear and pure for everyone. Thank you very much. And don't forget to like, share, and comment. Also, join the family of the Narrator group on YouTube, because it's very important. He posts everything daily. Stories, reels, pictures, and things like that. So you have to follow him very well, because he is very close. There are some very dangerous announcements. Dangerous in a way you can't imagine. Olivert James is back. But let's not forget ourselves. And I prepared some surprises for you. You deserve it, because you didn't leave me for a moment. The truth is clear in everything we ask for, and in everything we don't ask for. So you deserve everything that is done for you. Thank you very much. And of course, don't forget to pray for our brothers everywhere. In Syria, Sudan, Palestine, and Lebanon. In all places where Muslims and non-Muslims are oppressed. Don't forget them from your prayers. And don't forget our martyrs from prayers. May God help them and have mercy on all our martyrs. See you in the next episode. Good night.